You're not in traffic, you are traffic. Tonight, we're working on building a better Bay Area by finding out what each of us can do as individuals to make commuting better for everyone.
It can happen to anyone. You know, one day you have money for rent and the next you don't.
Basic needs are going unmet, and local college students have some simple suggestions to help their homeless peers.
Literally more than 1,000 types of plastic have been manufactured in the last 50 years. It's too much. No one can recycle all of that.
Just because you put it in recycling doesn't mean it gets recycled. We're going to show you how to make sure that it does.
Live where you live, this is ABC7 News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dan Ashley.
And I'm Ahmed Dates. ABC7 News is invested in building a better area, which means we are putting more time into stories about big issues, the ones that are noticeable, that affect your quality of life.
That's exactly right. And right now we're tackling two of those issues, homelessness and traffic. They affect the entire Bay Area, but we're going to narrow it down to some specific examples tonight.
Yes, let's start with traffic. Here is a live look at cars approaching the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. That would be your left-hand traffic, your oncoming traffic, and it is slow going. Yesterday, traffic here was a nightmare because of a crash on the bridge, and it almost looks as bad tonight.
It does. That crash happened around noon and blocked 3 eastbound lanes for hours, which turned into gridlock for commuters throughout the evening. Today, we wanted to find out how one single incident could trigger such a mess for so many people.
We sent ABC7 News reporter Leslie Brinkley to find some experts and get some answers, and she's live. Leslie, what have you found out?
Well, Amma and Dan, first of all, traffic is at least moving here when the light changes behind me at First and Harris, and a far cry from what it was like last night. Last night, now SFMTA told me they did convert 25 parking officers into traffic flow officers to manually run the stoplights at various intersections around the city. But ask anyone caught in that mess last night, and they'll tell you it didn't seem to help. It was a commute of epic proportions, and it all started when a jackknife truck blocked 3 eastbound lanes of the Bay Bridge for 3 hours. By rush hour, drivers on city streets said it was taking 2 hours to get on the bridge. 60% of the congestion in the Bay Area is due to accidents like this one. ABC7 News consulted with this Cal professor who heads up the Institute of Transportation Studies. So to avoid a nightmare scenario like yesterday with the gridlock there was, what could the city do? Could they change the light flows, add more officers?
So this is not a city problem, this is not a freeway problem, this is not an arterial problem. It's really a problem of the network. And so each component can do a little better. You could have improved traffic flow by changing traffic light signal timings and so on and so forth. But the point is there is no magic solution. The magic solution is before you hit the road, you look at traffic, and if things are bad, you can be convinced that public agencies are doing the best they can, but you should probably try another mode.
Walk, take an Uber to BART, catch a bus? SFMTA acknowledges that's easier said than done. The timing of that accident made it especially bad in the afternoon. Why?
Well, if it was a collision that occurred during the morning rush hour, people can make a decision on whether or not they should leave their cars at home, take BART, take Muni, or some other form of transportation. But in the afternoon, people have already driven in. And so what do you do with your car if it's left overnight?
And the traffic could get worse once development on Treasure Island adds up to 24,000 new commuters over the next 17 years. There's new technology in the works. In the future, if you are in a self-driving car, that technology could basically take over your ride and make you stop and go at different intervals to improve the traffic flow. That's part of a master plan to help traffic flow. In the meantime, what can you do to help nightmare commutes like last night's? Basically, don't leave where you are and drive into it. Stay late at work, grab some dinner, whatever you can do, unless you've got a plane to catch. In San Francisco, I'm Leslie Brinkley, ABC7 News.
Okay, thanks, Leslie. Now here's a live look at traffic around the Bay Area right now. A lot of folks didn't take Leslie's advice. In San Jose, the MacArthur Maze and the Golden Gate Bridge as well. We use the ABC7 News app to send out alerts when there are major backups. We sent out several yesterday about that situation in San Francisco, the crash on the Bay Bridge we talked about. You can customize the app so that you can get notified when something happens that will affect you where you live.
Now let's get to the second topic we said we would tackle, homelessness. For this, we're going to focus on the South Bay. That's because San Jose State reports the highest percentage of students experiencing homelessness of any school in the CSU system. This map highlights where the highest incidents of homelessness have been reported, clustered mostly around urban areas. ABC7 News reporter Chris Wynn explains what students want the school to do to help.
He's a young man on a mission. SJSU sophomore Bahati Burgess hopes to be the first in his family to graduate from college.
It's hard to climb up the economic ladder when you're already set at the bottom while people are already set closer to the top.
Bahati is homeless, and for a while he was sleeping at the school library.
I would try to keep a brave face for my mom and maybe my friends around me, but I couldn't focus on anything.
According to a report issued by the CSU, officials believe nearly 11% of students in the 23-campus CSU system are either homeless or have experienced some form of homelessness during their college careers. But SJSU tops the list at 13.2%, which equates to more than 4,300 students. The Student Housing Alliance is calling on the university to better communicate student resources when it comes to food and housing security. They also want 12 to 15 parking spaces set aside for students to use overnight, as well as additional emergency bed space in the dorms. School administrators say they're working with community partners to address off-campus housing solutions and plan to open a permanent food pantry next semester.
We've got to sit down together and really figure out what moving forward looks like, and what moving forward looks like in viable and sustainable kinds of ways. And that may include some of the things that the students have recommended.
The help can't come soon enough for students like Bahati, who was recently granted a shelter bed inside a local church by the Episcopal Diocese of El Camino Real. A temporary solution as he seeks a little more stability.
There is no quitting. It's either this or we fall through the cracks. And nobody here who's going to college right now who comes from my background is going to settle for that.
In San Jose, Chris Wynn, ABC7 News.
There are a lot of ways we can make things better, so what are your ideas? We want to see and hear them, so add the hashtag BetterBayArea when you tweet, Facebook, or Instagram what you're thinking. Please stay in touch with us. And stay with us. At 6:30, we'll dig deeply into California's recycling crisis and make sure that you know what your local rules are so that you can help build a better Bay Area.
A senior aide to California Senator Kamala Harris resigned last night after a gender discrimination lawsuit and $400,000 settlement surfaced.
Yeah, I-Team reporter Dan Noyes is here now with exclusive new details after contacting the woman and Dan, her attorney.
Oh, Dan and Alma, the case did settle last year, and today I contacted the plaintiff, Danielle Hartley, in Southern California, where she's starting a new life. She didn't want to speak on camera. She's glad to get this ordeal behind her.
These agents were very specialized in what they do.
Larry Wallace spent 14 years working for Kamala Harris as her deputy chief when she was San Francisco district attorney, as her director of law enforcement when she was attorney general, and as her senior advisor when she became a U.S. senator. I went to Sacramento today to speak with the attorney who filed the lawsuit against Wallace on behalf of his former executive assistant, Danielle Hartley.
Ms. Harris was the attorney general when a lot of the actions that were taken against my client.
The lawsuit says Hartley asked Wallace to move his printer from the floor under his desk so she would not have to bend down on her knees under the desk in her dresses and skirts, but Wallace refused. That he asked her to change the paper or ink on a daily basis, many times while he was sitting at the desk or with other male executives in the room. Telfer says that was just the beginning.
After she complained, though, she was subjected to an internal affairs investigation that, in my mind, was frivolous, as well as being demoted and other things like that.
The lawsuit says Wallace took away Hartley's meaningful tasks, made her book flights for his children, wash his car, and perform maintenance. When she returned to the office, Hartley claims co-workers would make hostile comments to her, including, "Are you walking the walk of shame?" The California Department of Justice denied each and every allegation in response to the lawsuit and paid Hartley $400,000 as part of a May 14 settlement. It only came to light after the First Amendment Coalition out of this San Rafael office filed a Public Records Act request.
You know, we were able to get access to an important document that otherwise no one would have known about.
Coalition attorney Glenn Smith tells me the Department of Justice demanded a non-disclosure clause. Hartley would not be able to discuss the amount of the settlement or contact the media.
And especially in the Me Too environment, sweeping these things under the rug, so to speak,
I think allows the problem to fester.
Senator Harris declined to be interviewed for this report, but her spokesperson emailed me that she was never made aware of Ms. Hartley's complaints. Mr. Wallace offered his resignation to the senator, and she accepted it.
The case settled after Kamala Harris became a senator. Now, this summer, she co-sponsored the Empowerment Act to curb workplace harassment. Among the recommendations, prohibiting non-disclosure clauses in these types of cases. By the way, I called Larry Wallace for comment and didn't hear back, Dan and Alma.
Maybe you will. We'll see. Thanks, Dan.
A Sassoon City man's family filed a civil lawsuit today against San Francisco police alleging excessive force. Police shot and killed 21-year-old Jihad Eid in March during an incident at a barbershop in the Excelsior neighborhood. The department says he was armed and fired at officers. ABC7 News reporter Melanie Woodrow is live in the newsroom with the latest. Melanie.
Alma, we want to warn viewers that body camera video of this shootout is disturbing. Still, Eid's family says they do not believe it tells the whole story. Jihad Eid's family described a loving son and brother.
He was the one person that really believed in me.
He was the loved one for us, and like my son said, he was taken too soon.
A much different image than this one. Police body-worn cameras captured the beginning of the March 21st shootout. San Francisco police were responding to a barber shop on Geneva Avenue looking for a man whose relatives said he had a gun. Police say Eid fired first. One officer was shot in the leg. You can see him crawling out of the barber shop. Police say Eid fired 9 rounds. 2 officers returned 26 rounds. Eid was shot 18 times. Today, attorney Dan Siegel filed a civil lawsuit against SFPD on behalf of Eid's family.
The amount of force that was used in this situation was completely disproportionate to any threat or danger that Jihad posed.
4 more people inside the barber shop were struck or grazed by gunfire. In an emailed statement, the San Francisco City Attorney's Office said, quote, the suspect had a gun and shot and injured a police officer and bystanders. The trial will prove that the San Francisco police officers who entered this active shooting scene acted lawfully to prevent further injury or death to the bystanders who were in imminent danger. SFPD and the SFDA's office say that the investigation is active and ongoing. The lawsuit does not specify the amount of damages that the family is seeking. In the newsroom, Melanie Woodrow, ABC7 News.
All right, Melanie, thank you. Well, the roller coaster ride on the stock market, it continues.
What should you do with your money? Next, you'll get expert advice in a live interview with a Morgan Stanley financial advisor.
I'm Spencer Christian. We can look forward to sunny skies going into the weekend, but probably not coming out of it. I'll have the AccuWeather forecast coming up in just a moment as ABC7 News at 6 continues.